By the mid-3rd century BC, Rome already rules almost the whole of Italy. From the north, after defeating Celts and Samnites, to the south, where it has taken Magna Graecia. Every road it lays and every city it subdues adds one more piece to an expanding power. With the fall of Tarentum in 272 BC, Rome reaches the shores of the Ionian Sea for the first time. Before her now lies the Mediterranean, still patrolled by Carthage's might. On Sicily, the richest and strategic island of the age, complex rivalries and risky diplomatic pacts intersect. The Strait of Messina, therefore, becomes a permanent line of tension, plied by corsairs, spies, and rival fleets, ready to snap at any moment without warning. But what spark will unleash the storm? And how will Rome, inexperienced at sea, dare challenge the strongest navy in the Mediterranean? In June 323 BC, Alexander the Great dies suddenly at Babylon, leaving no undisputed heir. His vast empire, stretching from Greece to India, plunges into chaos. The army's most powerful officers, the so-called Diadochi, or successors, vie for absolute control, unleashing a brutal civil war that ravages lands from the Aegean Sea to Mesopotamia's distant heart. Antigonus Monophthalmus, the one-eyed Cyclops, first emerges as the dominant figure, striving to reassemble the enormous empire. Arrayed against him, though, stand Lysimachus in Thrace, Seleucus in Babylonia, and Ptolemy in Egypt, forming a coalition that fights on several fronts, from the Hellespont to Syria. The defensive reckoning comes in 301 BC at Ipsus. Antigonus falls in battle, and with him, every lingering hope of reunification. The empire breaks irrevocably into 3 great independent kingdoms. The Seleucids rule the vast Asian expanse from Syria to Persia. The Ptolemies reign over Egypt. In Europe, the Antigonid dynasty prevails, centered on mainland Macedonia. A new political era dawns, marked by the permanent partition of the Greek world. Hellenistic Asia will no longer have a single center of power. Without a stable, universally recognized arbiter, openings appear for bold new forces ready to seize Alexander's abandoned military and political legacy.
Did you know that most people who watch our documentaries aren't subscribed yet? If you enjoy animated maps and history, join our community. Leave a like and subscribe so you never miss the next episodes.
In 312 BC, Rome launches 2 fundamental infrastructure projects. The Via Appia, roughly 200 kilometers long, linking Rome to Capua and speeding legion movements in southern Italy, and the first aqueduct, the Aqua Appia, whose 16 kilometers of underground conduit bring pure water from eastern springs into the city, supplying inhabitants reliably and improving hygiene with a flow of about 900 liters per second each day to thirsty households. During the same period, the treaty with Carthage, 306 to 303 BC, establishes an unusual division. Rome controls the Italian interior, while Carthage retains maritime supremacy. Yet this balance proves fragile and ready to crack. Between 298 and 290 BC, Rome fights the Third Samnite War. The Battle of Salentium, 295 BC, proves decisive. There, the Roman army achieves a crushing victory, consolidating its firm, lasting hold over central Italy and establishing the Republic's enduring territorial hegemony. Meanwhile, Macedonia rises again. Antigonus II Gonatas, grandson of Antigonus I, repels the Celtic invasion by winning at Lysimachia in 277 BC. He rebuilds a strong fleet and revives the Phalanx, restoring by 276 BC complete Macedonian control over the Greek islands and the Aegean Sea. Thus, by the mid-3rd century BC, two powers are in full ascent: Rome, master of Italy and a logistical giant, and Macedonia, reborn as a naval and military force. Though still geographically distant, they are now fated to clash for supremacy in the Mediterranean. The territorial conquests and the grip on maritime routes achieved by both states are already creating the conditions for an inevitable collision that will determine the future balance between the Roman and Hellenistic worlds. In 283 BC, at Lake Vadamon, Rome confronts the Senones, a formidable Celtic tribe that has menaced northern Italy for decades. The Roman victory is utter and total, securing the Republic's northern frontier for the first time and allowing it to focus its ambitions southward. The real challenge comes soon after, in 282 BC, when Tarentum, a powerful city of Magna Graecia, enters direct conflict with Rome for mastery of southern Italy. Unable to face Roman expansion alone, the Tarentines call upon King Pyrrhus of Epirus, a seasoned warrior, heir of the Diadochi, and already famous throughout the eastern Mediterranean. Pyrrhus lands in Italy in 280 BC with about 25,000 soldiers, including a formidable Macedonian phalanx armed with sarissas more than 5 meters long, and, above all, 20 war elephants, creatures never before seen on the peninsula. The first clash with the legions occurs near Heracula. The phalanx proves lethal on open terrain, while the elephants so panic among the legionnaires, who had never faced such beasts in battle. Pyrrhus wins, but at a staggering cost, giving birth to the phrase Pyrrhic victory that soon echoed across the Republic. The pattern repeats at Asculum, 279 BC, where Pyrrhus triumphs again but loses thousands of men, further weakening his army. The campaign drags on without a decisive result and swiftly wears down the Epirote forces. At Beneventum in 275 BC, Rome withstands the assaults of phalanx and elephants, inflicting heavy losses on Pyrrhus in that bloody Italian theater. Frustrated by his inability to break Roman resistance and drained by his costly victories, Pyrrhus abandons the Italian peninsula. His withdrawal marks Rome's first great international triumph. The entire Mediterranean now acknowledges the Republic's rising power, while the phalanx has revealed its first vulnerabilities before the flexible Roman legion, ever more admired abroad and feared alike. In 272 BC, after years of siege and desperate resistance, Tarentum finally falls to Rome. This ends Magna Graecia's political autonomy, now folded into Rome's orbit. For the first time, the Republic looks out upon the Ionian Sea as a maritime power. Recognizing the need for a strong war fleet, the Republic immediately launches an unprecedented project at Ostia: the recovery and meticulous reconstruction of a Carthaginian ship wrecked along the Latian coast. This innovative example of reverse engineering allows Roman engineers to launch their first quinquiremes swiftly, capable of openly challenging Carthage in the western and central Mediterranean. Meanwhile, in Sicily, between 270 and 268 BC, Carthage massively fortifies Lilybaeum and Motia, strategic port cities dominating the island's western coast. Rome instead strengthens its influence at Messina and Syracuse. The island is now clearly divided into two spheres of influence bound soon to collide. Rome also prepares economically. In 268 BC, the first silver denarius enters circulation, a robust and reliable coin that will embody Roman financial strength for centuries. As an historical curiosity, its obverse bears the goddess Roma wearing a Corinthian helmet, an evident homage to the Greek culture Rome had just absorbed in conquering Magna Graecia, and will circulate across the wider empire. In only a few years, Rome and Carthage move from commercial partners to bitter strategic rivals. Each now controls a crucial section of the Mediterranean, and the precarious peace between the two powers seems fated to collapse beneath their competing ambitions. War is at the gates. Carthage, founded by Phoenicians in 814 BC on the coast of today's Tunisia, is the beating heart of an immense mercantile empire stretching across the western Mediterranean from Gadir to Malta. Dominating the sea lanes with more than 300 operational triremes, Carthage is the era's greatest naval power. In the city's famous circular harbor, crews trained daily on fixed benches, ready to intervene swiftly in any quarter of the maritime empire whenever danger or profit appears there. Carthage's economic strength rests chiefly on the trade in precious metals from Iberia and on the strategic control of Sicily's fertile lands, whose grain feeds its cities. For this reason, Sicily becomes a crucial objective for Rome, which fully understands the island's strategic importance for Mediterranean security and political leverage. The Punic Empire is not only economic and military, but also religious and cultural, from the worship of Melkart in the Phoenician temple at Gadir to the cult of Baal Haman in Mount Eryx in Sicily. Carthage spreads rites and traditions that bind its colonial network. Rome anthers Carthage's naval dominance by training magistri navales, expert commanders schooled in the Greek model, and by testing new boarding tactics using hooked gangways called corvi to offset Rome's thinner maritime experience. Thus, the Western Mediterranean becomes a genuine commercial and strategic Cold War, destined inevitably to flare into open conflict in the years that soon followed. By the mid-3rd century BC, Sicily resembles a vast geopolitical chessboard. Syracuse rules the central eastern island, preserving precarious independence through a brazen strategy of constantly switching alliances between Rome and Carthage to restrain both rivals. In the west, Carthage maintains a network of fortified cities, while in the east, many Greek colonies persist, fragmented and jealously protective of their autonomy, and fiercely proud still. For Rome, Sicily is a vital grain resource. The fertile plains around Catania constantly supply Ostia's markets, feeding a rapidly expanding Roman population. For Carthage, losing control of these harvests would mean a severe economic and social crisis capable of shaking its political foundations deeply. An emblem of this complicated reality is Morgantina, an inland Sicilian village that seeks neutrality, even minting bilingual coins in Greek and Punic, a visible symbol of its diplomatic balancing act between the two contending powers of the age. From 265 to 264 BC, tension rises in the Strait of Messina. Roman and Punic patrols spar daily. Corsairs and pirates wage a secret war among the Aeolian Islands, while spies slip into garrisons, preparing for the inevitable showdown that now looms. A single incident at Messina will be enough to shatter this delicate balance, but that is another story. If this journey through the ancient Mediterranean captivated you, leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you do not miss the next episode, when an incident at Messina will spark the First Punic War. Comment and share with fellow history fans.